So I finally got around to reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And let me just say, this is not your average motivational book. This is raw, intense, and at times pretty uncomfortable. But that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Goggins isn't trying to sugarcoat anything. He's basically saying, here's the pain I went through, here's how I broke myself down, and here's how you can do the same to push way past your limits. If you don't know who David Goggins is, he's a retired Navy SEAL, an ultramarathon runner, and someone who went from being overweight and stuck in a dead end job to becoming one of the toughest men alive. His story is wild. But what makes this book stand out is that it's not just about his accomplishments, it's about the mindset that allowed him to achieve them. One of the first things that really hit me is how brutally honest he is about his childhood. He grew up in a toxic environment. His father was abusive, his family struggled financially, and school wasn't exactly a safe place for him either. Most people would carry that trauma forever, and honestly, Goggins did for a while. But what makes his story different is how he eventually flipped the script. He stopped seeing himself as a victim and started owning his story. That shift was the foundation for everything else he went on to do. Now, one of the core themes of the book is what Goggins calls the 40% rule. And honestly, this is one of the most practical takeaways. He says that when your mind is telling you you're done, when you're exhausted, ready to quit, ready to throw in the towel, you're actually only at about 40% of your true capacity. You've still got 60% left in the tank. Think about that for a second. Most of us never even come close to tapping into what we're really capable of because our brain convinces us to quit way too early. Goggins' whole life is proof of what happens when you ignore that voice and keep pushing. Another big part of his philosophy is about callousing the mind. Just like your hands build calluses from hard physical work, your mind can toughen up too, but only if you put it through discomfort. That means deliberately doing things you don't want to do. Waking up early, running when it's cold and you're tired, studying when you'd rather watch Netflix. The more you expose yourself to challenges, the stronger your mental calluses get, and the less likely you are to break when life throws something hard at you. And here's something that really stood out to me. Goggins doesn't pretend he's fearless or superhuman. He talks openly about the times he failed, the times he quit, and the times he doubted himself. What makes his story inspiring is that he didn't stop there. Every failure became fuel. Instead of letting setbacks define him, he used them as motivation to come back stronger. That kind of relentless mindset is rare, but it's also something he believes anyone can develop if they're willing to face discomfort head on. The book also introduces this idea of an accountability mirror. Goggins used to literally look at himself in the mirror and write sticky notes with brutal truths. Not sugar-coated affirmations, but raw, honest reminders of where he was falling short and what he needed to fix. Things like, you're overweight, you need to run 5 miles tomorrow. Or, you didn't study today, you need to do better. It sounds harsh, but for him, it worked. Because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come when you stop lying to yourself and face reality exactly as it is. Another powerful lesson is about setting what he calls impossible goals. Most of us set goals we know we can reach. Goggins flips that. He says you should set goals that scare you, goals that force you to become someone new in order to achieve them. For him, that meant running ultramarathons, joining the Navy SEALs, and constantly testing his limits. For you, it might be something totally different, but the principle is the same. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Of course, this book isn't all sunshine and motivation. It's intense, sometimes even extreme. There are stories of him running with broken bones, pushing his body to dangerous levels, and enduring insane amounts of pain. You might read some of it and think, there's no way I'd ever do that. And that's fine. The point isn't that you should copy his exact path. The point is to realize that you're capable of way more than you think. Even if you only apply a fraction of his mindset, it can completely change the way you approach challenges. What I liked most is that the book forces you to confront yourself. It's not about blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck. It's about taking radical responsibility. Goggins basically says, no one's coming to save you. You either put in the work or you stay the same. It's tough love, But sometimes that's exactly what we need to hear. By the end of the book, you can't help but feel a little uncomfortable, in a good way. It makes you question the excuses you've been making, the limits you've been putting on yourself, and the comfort zones you've been hiding in. And that's the point. It's not meant to coddle you, it's meant to challenge you. So here's my honest take. Can't Hurt Me isn't for everyone. If you're looking for a gentle, feel-good self-help book, this is not it. But if you're ready for a wake-up call, if you want a book that will light a fire under you and make you push harder than you ever thought possible, then this is absolutely worth reading. Goggins shows us that the biggest battles aren't fought in the gym or on the battlefield. They're fought in our own minds. And once you win that battle, everything else becomes possible.